let's just go ahead and assume that it's not Matt Rule for this Penn State conversation, because that's kind of the lead dog in the clubhouse from everything that I'm hearing. Who does Penn State go after when it comes to this coaching search? To unpack all that, we bring on your mother's favorite producer, my favorite producer, two-time All-Sun Belt safety, that man, Caden Smith. Kato, looking very festive, very fall weather of you, brother. Looking nice. How we doing?
Good. Mom's favorite's doing good. Yeah, had to follow it up. It's a little cool in the morning, a little cool at night now. I'm fully in the pocket, man. I feel great now that it's getting colder and colder. I'm a cold weather guy, man. Sorry.
It's a Penn State segment, so we don't have snow just yet on the ground in Nashville. That'll probably happen, I would guess, January, February. Well, we need to get in the studio and shoot something. The roads will be iced over, I'm sure. You have frosty windshield yet? Does that happen
a little
for
bit
you out here?
It's at that scary point where you look at your car and you're like, dang, is this frosty? But then you give it one wiper and it's like, oh, it's nothing crazy. So we're not in the full need to defrost, need to scrape anything off yet, and that's probably where I'll feel probably take a little bit back of what I was saying about wishing it was cold. But right now we're right where we need to be, man. It's
in
perfect.
The sweet spot.
It's football weather, truly.
It's glorious, man. Run the ball weather outside. So I want to talk about this Penn State opening with you. I think we would probably both agree Matt Rule is that first call that they are either going to make or have made, a guy they'd be after. Matt Rule did nothing to shoot down the idea of him maybe taking that job, saying, I love Penn State, that's my alma mater. And I get that. It's hard to give the alma mater the SWAT treatment when that job opens up and say, no, I'd never go there, or no, I'm not interested. I think that's maybe, one, probably bad business if you're trying to get more money from your current employer, which I think makes a ton of sense. Two, just from a heart thing, it's probably a bad look to swat it down. I want to throw a couple of just ideas at you, and I want to get your take on who you think could end up being the guy here. Penn State, the job itself is about winning a national championship. James Franklin being fired proves that. They have said it's not a 2-game thing or a 3-game thing with losses to Oregon, UCLA, Northwestern. Kind of felt like the final straw. But whoever takes that job, the responsibility will be get us a national championship. And so we're hearing things, and there's rumblings. There's a lot of good articles out there right now from the entire On3 team. Pete Nako's doing the Lord's work. He put out an article, and the On3 social team followed it up with a tweet. Sounds like they're going to take some big swings and go after guys like Ryan Day, Kalen DeBoer, which sounds unlikely, but Marcus Freeman is someone they're going to go after or should go after, and they're going to take a swing at. And that's makes all the sense in the world, man. Makes all the sense in the world. If you can get any of those guys away from their respective places, especially Marcus Freeman, go do that. A guy who's been to a national championship. Those names I mentioned before have been to national championships as well. Ryan Day has won one. But, you take big swings. It is a big swing job, and that's why you fired James Franklin. So that's the first part of this. You got to take some big swings. Marcus Freeman, if you can get him away, which is a big if, that would be awesome if you're a Penn State fan. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, I think it's funny, the James Franklin thing happens, he gets fired, and then you start looking at these hot boards like Pete Nakos had posted and some others, and it's how many of these coaches are actually better than James Franklin, though? And then if you're firing a James Franklin, then you do have to take those big swings, because I think lost in all of this is a guy who won just about every game he was supposed to until this year, every game we expected him to win. And I don't know how many other coaches across the country are more accomplished than James Franklin, except for those ones who have won conference titles, who have won playoff games more. James Franklin has as well, which again, you want guys that have played in a national championship or have won a national championship, and that's a very small list. And the most attainable seems like a Marcus Freeman because he just played in one. He didn't win one. He's kind of still young in his Notre Dame tenure. Mm-hmm. I don't think Marcus Freeman's leaving Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has such a unique identity, and I think you're the kind of coach that either works there or doesn't. I don't think there's very much middle ground, and I think he works there. He's getting former NFL players' sons to come play for him. He's selling the university the best you possibly can. He got baptized Catholic. He's fully there. I don't think that's changing, but I think you do have to take these big swings because you fired a coach that is very good. You're not going to fire, the odds of them hiring a coach that has a better win percentage or more wins than James Franklin is very slim. So you have to take the big swing and try to take someone out of these places that is unequivocally on paper more successful than a one James Franklin. So you have to swing big, I think. I think that's a kind of a part of the territory when you fire someone that is actually very good at their job in college football.
You're hiring, by nature of firing James Franklin, the surest thing possible. And James Franklin coming into this year, I think we all would have said probably one of the highest floor guys in college football. He just won 10 games every year, and it was like, nope, not good enough, which I understand to a certain extent, but that's where you find yourself now if you're Penn State. You're not taking the flyer on the hotshot coordinator.
No.
I don't think you're betting that John Gruden works in the NFL.
No.
You're not going after Ed Orgeron, though that'd be fun. Be a lot of fun. I don't think you're revisiting that whole situation. You are going after the 1% of the 1%, and in that way, it almost sets you up for, like, I think we're going to see whoever gets this job, if it's not Matt Rule, and we'll talk about names here in a second, but doesn't it feel a little bit like whoever gets this job, we're going to kind of say, all right, that guy's supposed to do better than James Franklin? That's the guy who's going to go win a national champion? Like, because I don't think you're hiring anybody away that's won a national championship at this point in time. Unless you want to get Jimbo Fisher off the set with the ACC network. And I don't know that that's my hire either. You know, like that's the only guy that's won a national title. You know, like you're not getting Dabo.
You're not getting Urban Meyer. Yeah, like there's a genre of people who have a pulse that have won a national championship, like the Sabans of the world too. And you see jokes about that on Twitter and stuff. And it is a joke, but like you did just fire a really good head coach. So what is your plan now? Like, to find someone better than that, you kind of have to take big swings, like I mentioned before. But to touch on the Matt Rule thing for a second, did you see the press conference where they asked him about it? Like,
yeah.
You saw the footage?
Yeah.
If they offer Matt Rule that job, he's gone. Like, I don't think there's – the way he was talking about Penn State sounded like me talking about my crush. Like, he was like, I love Penn State. And then my wife there, like he's giggling, he's blushing. I'm like, oh, I watched 3 seconds of the clip. I'm like, oh, it's over. Like if they offer him that job, it's over. But again, going back to this all, is Matt Rule a better coach than James Franklin? Like I don't think that's unequivocally like been figured out. Like he has had success in a very different way that James Franklin has. You're comparing his Vanderbilt run to his Temple and Baylor run, the NFL career, what he's done at Penn State. Like it is a question though, and I think you had to vote on it. Like you would get a lot of different answers. And that's not like, again, like James Franklin, like Matt Rule might be a better fit, I guess. Is that going to result in better results on the field than what James Franklin had, which is back-to-back, several 10-win seasons? Like, I don't know. So, like, I wasn't against the Franklin firing when it happened, but now that I'm trying to see them pick up the pieces and find out who to hire next and some of these people that aren't coaching and people that are at really good spots and people that are like, I'm looking at it now and I'm like, man, like who is going to do better than James Franklin? I think it's bigger shoes to fill than maybe we would have thought of initially when it happened. So overall, I think it makes it one of the more interesting head coaching searches. But I think if they offered him Matt Rule, I think he's gone just the way he was swooning over the word Penn State in the place Penn State while at a Nebraska press conference.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in for all parties. Like if you're Matt Rule, it's tough when they ask you about Penn State. You're supposed to say, "No, I'm happy here in Nebraska. I'm not even going to entertain."
It was the opposite of
like,
it was the
tough,
opposite of what
man.
Fran Brown said.
It's
like it was literally the complete
good.
opposite.
Yeah.
Like Fran Brown was like almost disrespected. He was like, "Why would you ask me something like that? Like I'm at Syracuse. This isn't a big time job. Like what do you mean big time?" And then you got Matt Rule over here like kicking his feet, like blushing, like, "Oh yeah, I met my wife there. I love Penn State. It's a shame what they did to James." Like it's like what? Like he seems almost as good as gone, but we'll see, man.
And low key, now you mentioned Fran Brown. I didn't have him written down, but Fran Brown, talk about an exciting hire. I don't know if he's the guy. I don't think he's leaving Syracuse based on how he's acting. But
yeah.
I think the thought here with just to revisit the Matt Rule thing, because I am a little bit when I do that whole Matt Rule segment and say if I'm him, I wouldn't leave. I'm happy in Nebraska, all those things. It's a little bit devil's advocate-ish because what you just said, to go back and coach your alma mater, dude, I don't know how you put a value on that, especially if things are equal with resources and all those things with Nebraska, what they have to offer and Penn State has to offer. Like the heart wants what it wants, and so that's a big part of it. But I think going back to what you said about is Matt Rule truly a better coach than James Franklin? It's a big palms up thing. But I think there's three thoughts around that. One, the James Franklin thing just kind of becoming stale. They felt like evidently they had to make a move. I think the thing with Matt Rule, the second thought is he gets Penn State, which you would hope at some level, similar to Mike Elko and what he's doing at A&M, like the getting the place maybe equates to better success, which the bar is already set pretty high. So what does success actually look like in terms of better success? National title feels like the box that needs to be checked. But the third thing here, I think the idea with hiring Matt Rule would be, hey, Coach Rule, you've taken places from trying to get on first base to having them hit a triple. Now we're going to start you on third base. Can you get us to home plate here, Coach Rule? Can you get us from third base all the way through to a national championship? Because you took Baylor from like being argued about having the death penalty to competing for a conference title. So that would, I guess, be the gamble. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to say he wouldn't be excited to take a job like that based on all the tea leaves we're reading there. Who are some names, though, Kato, that you're tracking that maybe are someone that could make sense? This isn't so much an intel segment as much as like just the two dudes talking about an opening segment. But give me your thoughts on who you might take a hard look at if you're in charge of this Penn State vacancy.
Yeah, so I think that's a great way to put it, because it's like we talk about like Matt Rule knowing the program. Like James Franklin got to know that program very well because he was picking up the pieces of the situation that he got at Penn State and fully turned it around and probably learned more about a school than most people would learn about a school, going through what they went through off the field and getting things turned around there. But if all of the big swings are gone that we're talking about, that are people that have won national championships, played in national championships, former coaches that have been on that stage, if all those names are gone, like some of the almost unrealistic reaches from Kalen DeBoer, Marcus Freeman, Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, if all of those have been exhausted, I think name number one has to be Curt Cignetti. Yeah. And I think it's because he is doing the same exact thing right now in this moment with less resources that James Franklin hasn't been able to do. You mentioned it in your reaction to it right when it happened. Like, he just got a win at Oregon that James Franklin was literally not able to get this year. And he's had a giant runway, has had to convince all of his players to come back for this specific season to go after the Natty. Like, I think, to me, if you could get him there, it would make the most sense as far as a hire. And he's a guy who's from Pennsylvania too, so I don't know if he wants to keep building with Indiana. That's a program that took a chance with him, and he wants to like keep honoring that and stay there. And it being interconference makes it a little weird too, even for Matt Rule as well. But I think that's the first guy you have to call that maybe doesn't have that national championship or playoff level of experience of some of those other candidates. And then after that, to me, man, it's just a bunch of kind of good head coaches who, again, like, I think they're great head coaches. We may not have seen them with this many resources, but if they do get it, maybe they can do something James Franklin hasn't. But I don't think there's any guarantee that any of these guys aren't necessarily better coaches than James Franklin. My short list is Kenny Dillingham, Matt Campbell, John Summerall, and Eli Drinkwitz. I think all those guys have different strengths, different weaknesses, and this would be the most resources they've ever had in their career, and maybe they could capitalize on it in a way that James Franklin wasn't able to. But Dillingham, we've seen what he did activating the Valley down there, making a program that has been down, bringing them back up, putting Texas like on the ropes in a way that we didn't expect in some of those big games. Young, exciting. Same with John Summerall, but at a more extreme level with him not being a Power 4 head coach. We all expect him at Kentucky, but I think he's a guy where you could look at him with the resources at Penn State, take it to another level. Matt Campbell, tough guy, great coach. I think like as far as just the art of coaching, like 11 on 11, sideline for sideline, that's where it's like, okay, like I could see him being a better game manager, a better coach than James Franklin maybe, and that's where we would really see things turn around. And then Eli Drinkwitz, he's a program builder. I can speak firsthand. In his year at App State, he turned that program around financially from a backing standpoint, from how we were operating day in and day out. I don't think Penn State needs that. Same with recruiting. Like, Penn State doesn't need that, but maybe he can take it to another level with more resources like we mentioned before. But again, like, all those names I mentioned, not really sure if any of them are a better head coach than James Franklin. So you would like to get to that big swing area where you're hitting it out the park and doing that. But there's a lot of other good coaches, too, that are just switching it out from it being a stale program as far as continuing to hit that brick wall, never breaking through the ceiling as far as winning those big games on those big stages and getting yourself on that national championship stage.
Yeah, man, the Matt Campbell one is the one that I camp out on after Curt Cignetti, who I want to talk about in a second. But he's a guy in Matt Campbell who has continued to stick to his guns and saying, I'm going to be at Iowa State. I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to stay here. Like, there's been many jobs that have opened up where we talk about Matt Campbell. I remember the USC job a couple of years ago. His name was floated around. I really do think that if there is a job you're going to jump for if you're Matt Campbell, why not this one? This one fits him the best, I think. I think geographically this fits him the best. I think attitude-wise it fits him the best. This would be a job that I would circle. If I'm crossing off Rule, I'm crossing off Cignetti, Matt Campbell to me makes a ton of sense. But if I can get Cignetti, dude, I mean, talk about upside.
Those are two guys with an edge, Like
edge.
they have an edge that program needs, and I think that would make the most sense.
Honestly, an arrogance, too, from Cignetti. And this is not to speak down on that because I love that from him. I think that's what Indiana needed. Isn't that what Penn State needs? You've been the little brother in some sense of the Ohio State and Michigan crowd of the Big Ten. Like, you're tier 1 in the Big Ten, are you, if you're Penn State? From a logo perspective, I don't know without a shadow of a doubt, but I would think you're flirting with that tier from a resource perspective. But now you're kind of seen as like, little 10-2 brother, like, the third child, the fourth child of the Big Ten. Kurt Cignetti took the adopted child of the Big Ten in Indiana, not actually adopted from a literal sense. I understand Indiana's got Big Ten. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They weren't even like a thought when it came to football in the Big Ten.
Basketball school.
And Kurt Cignetti walks in there, chest out, talking trash. I win games. Google me. Doesn't Penn State need that after all the, not mediocrity, but like, so close, bridesmaid, never the bride situation that Penn State, I would love that for Penn. I think his personality matters so much to what Penn State needs to do. And we've seen it matter in college football, Kato. Elka at A&M, personality what they needed. Clark Lee at Vandy, personality is what they needed. And I think the personality for Kurt Cignetti is what Penn State needs. So I'm glad you said that about the edge. I think that is 110% a reason why I would go after Cignetti, paired with the upside. I mean, the guy's just a rocket right now when it comes to what he's doing in the profession. Kurt Cignetti would be my first call that feels attainable for the Penn State job.
Yeah, and I think that this has been going on for a while for Kurt Cignetti. I'll never forget when I was still doing the Sun Belt podcast, we talked to Kurt Cignetti before JMU's first year in the Sun Belt, and he was very confident. And I was kind of like, oh, dang, this guy kind of thinks he's going to just come into the Sun Belt and be the best team in the conference. He can't win a conference title because you can't play as soon as you join the league, but they would have been playing in that title game, and they rolled over everybody, So, like, he does this everywhere, and we talk about it all the time. Like, a lot of the times when we get to these matchups and we're talking about who's going to win and all the talent seems the same, a lot of the time you go with your gut, and your gut has to do with the personality of your head coach that resonates with the rest of the team. We talk about it with Dan Lanning. We talk about it with Kirby Smart. And sometimes the talent is just so absurd, like, it doesn't matter. And I think these guys could step into recruiting situations and just exude that confidence and that edge, get some people to play with a level of confidence and grittiness and toughness that we might not have necessarily seen from Penn State at the biggest spots. We've seen it throughout when they're winning the games they were supposed to win. Now all of a sudden, though, you're losing as a 20-point underdog 2 weeks in a row, and that's from the neck up. That's not about a talent thing. And you couldn't see a lot of the coaches on these lists losing games like that. So I think that's something they might directly address here as well. But, man, like, just thinking about the names on this list and how many potential jobs could be open. Does James Franklin get into coaching somewhere else with an Arkansas opening, with a potential Florida opening? Like, we are going to get an offseason of all off seasons that we haven't had in a while, but some dominoes are going to fall, and it's going to be very interesting to see which lanes all of these coaches go under, because when one spot gets filled, that leaves another vacancy. And a lot of these guys we're talking about, these are not bad jobs. Kurt Cignetti now, like, I don't know if someone's going to just come pick up where Kurt Cignetti left off in Indiana, because what we talked about before, but it's just going to be a fascinating offseason and very fascinating to see where Penn State and a lot of these other kind of programs go with the personalities of these head coaches.
I'm glad you said that. And I want to give this last thought before we wrap up here, but the carousel itself being so wild, Kato, that in turn is going to make the portal so wild.
Oh, my God.
Like, if I hire Matt Rule, if I'm Penn State, I'm not projecting this, but it's a question you have to ask. Who do I get from Nebraska to come with me? Do I get Dylan Raiola?
Yeah.
If I hire Eli Drinkwitz, do I get Ahmad Hardy? Like, that's a big question that I think maybe is going to be discussed here as we figure out some of these carousels, or this carousel rather, and these vacancies within it as it continues to turn. But Kato, great stuff, man. We're going to have a lot to talk about here up to and through the college football play, man. It's going to be fun.
It's a year-round sport, like we mentioned, and this offseason already is going to, I think, make it even more year-round before. I mean, who knows? Dillingham might go to Penn State and bring Sam Leavitt with him. The options are endless as far as the portal moves that come along with these coaches. So get your dominoes ready, guys.
Dude, if he leaves alma mater from Happy Valley, or from activating the Valley to activating the Happy Valley, there's a lot of things that could be said there. You just got to tweak some slogans, but good stuff as always. The man, the myth, the legend on the ones, the twos, the microphone, everything you see here. Caden, we call him Kato Smith.